Right, everybody, I've not prepared anything.
What's the surprises?
But everybody's always asking me questions about how I got started, and well, I'm sure everyone knows a lot of the questions that I do get asked quite a bit. Okay. Can you? Hello.
Not working. Okay.
Hello. It's not working. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah. Actually, okay. For the benefit of back, I'll use the microphone.
Rock and roll.
So you can. Okay. Right. Well. First obvious question is how I got started, and it started like most of us with a computer I got as a Christmas present to help with the homework. They've never seen Andy's video. That's I was a pestering kid at the bottom of that thing, and we were very much writing games because. Even if it had money, and most of us certainly didn't, the games, we could see them in the arcade. We'd all seen our first Space Invaders machine. It was very special to most of us, and we got the home computers without telling our parents, but what we really wanted was a Space Invaders machine in our bedrooms. And the only way to do it was to learn to write a game, and quite a lot of us met up in various computer shops. Tandy were renowned for being generous with their space and time, and we started writing games just for our own amusement, really. And fortunately, at the time, the publishers were just starting to look for software because they realised that everybody else was thinking along the same lines of playing Space Invaders and Pac-Man and all the old favourites, Asteroids, as a big spurt. Okay. I suppose I should work out what I was going to say next. Okay, right. So that's why I started writing games. So I suppose the next most important thing is how I started in the industry, which is Bug-Bite, my first publisher. Well, they weren't actually. No, but they were my second publisher. They were looking for. The Spectrum just came out, and the publishers were looking for any new Spectrum software. And I was recommended as somebody who could write a Spectrum game, although I've never actually seen a Spectrum. But it's not too bizarre because. I knew the chip inside the Spectrum inside out already, and so I just borrowed the Spectrum, and 3 weeks later delivered a simple little game called Sticks, which some people remember, but not as many as a few weeks later I wrote Manic Miner. And then that's where are we now? Right, here I am. I'm like, okay, 17. I've written Manic Miner. I'm getting rather larger royalties than I've ever thought feasible, and my decision to leave school at 16 was beginning to starting to look as though it wasn't quite so stupid. I'm pretty sure when I left at 16, I wasn't just trying to avoid my maths homework, but I wasn't sure at the time that there was a good living to be made in the games industry. Now, if you hear that Well, Andrew said when he started, this was the same for me. The developer used to be very much in control of what games were written, and many people say this contributes to what is seen as one of the golden ages of games, is that the games are written by artists, by programmers with ideas, and then offered to publishers to either publish or not publish. And if one publisher didn't like it, there was always another publisher. And it's said that the huge I'll clarify my thoughts exactly on this right now, but at the time, the developers were very much in control, and it shows in the innovation, the rate of innovation that was often seen at the time. But the publishers, we were still dependent on the publishers to pay us our royalties, and that was I was often a question of trust, because we had contracts, but they were generally like by modern standards, they were flimsy legal documents which either left one party or the other. Not always. It wasn't always the publishers deliberately trying to screw the programmers. Sometimes the programmers were demanding contracts that left the publishers with very little right to publish. And actually Bug Bites was one of those, which is instrumental in me taking Manic off them when they weren't paying me quick enough. And so I set up software projects, and shortly after that was when I met Stu. He came to work for us very early on. Just after, yeah. Mind you, the company sort of started before then. I really should have worked out some of this before I started talking about it. Anyone who kept a diary probably knows a lot more about it than I do. Anyone got any questions about this early period? Like, before, well...
Did you say you had to meet published before Sticks?
Before I was... yeah, but on the TRS-80, it was a very, very limited market. It was in the... I think it just about scraped into double figures, the sales. It was all mail order from a specialist company in Bexhill. They kept a really big catalogue, so they published just about anything. And but it was only if people heard of something. Maybe there were some people buying everything, and that accounts for my nearly double figure sales.
Have you got a copy of your own game?
I don't know. No, I'm still missing some of my really early stuff, and so. But I'm not really looking that hard. It's, I'm still trying to look forward at the moment. And then, okay, well. After starting software projects, yeah, it was part of my incentive for starting software projects was to avoid well, my main motive was actually financial control. I already had total artistic control as far as I needed it. But it was. I've been impatient when I published my first bug right. Were actually 3 months late paying me, which is to a 17-year-old that seemed outrageous, but because I've left my own landlord without his rent for longer than that since then. So in a fit of pique, really, I not only set up my own publishing house, but I also took it was their best-selling product off them with their further recalls, because their contract was far lax than any fines in today's industry. Our software projects, the lunatics did take over the asylum. It was fair comment. Most of us were very young, and we didn't have the self-discipline, and my partners who were attempting to manage everything, they didn't have what it took to bring Terrorways in there. And that was a common thing. You had people who were in it just for the money, who wanted everybody, who wanted all the people creating the games to just behave and write games, and there was those of us writing games who wanted to finish our games, but we didn't want to be dialed boredom in the meantime, and we were all very young and a bit wild, and so in spite of all whatever the business situation was at any company, they were crashing out left and right and centre, because but it was a fun time, and we did produce the games, and we were selling them, and we were doing the business, and we were and the industry grew. I think it might have. One gets the impression that there was a lull in the industry when the 16-bit machines began to die. But, I'm not sure if any sales graphs will show such a bit, but I'm not sure if everybody perceives that there was this sort of gap between the end of the Amiga and the start of the PlayStation. Certainly appeared the media were less interested in video games for a long time, and now, as Andrew said earlier, it is very much more expensive to develop a game. But actually, I want to put my personal view on this, is that I'm not entirely sure that the commonly received wisdom is that games cost millions of pounds to develop, and this perception is based on the fact that most games do actually cost millions of pounds to develop, and it's but I think that in some ways that's no reason why you can't actually write a game in your bedroom by yourself. Well, maybe not by yourself anymore, unless you're also a very good musician and artist. But small teams of bedroom coders can still write games. But what we have today is we have a stranglehold on the market by the console manufacturers. And so you can't really bring a game to market without their permission. And any complaints about restrictive trade practices will be answered in a court somewhere in Japan at their convenience. And we should find out if you can afford a lawyer rich enough to know who their lawyer is. And well, I'm blabbering. But let's remember that Peter Jackson's best film, which I'm sure everyone will agree is bad taste. Yeah, that cost 10,000 New Zealand dollars to make, and there I rest my case on that subject. So the future of the industry actually might well, it's possible it might, like pop music, it might end up eating itself, and but then once it's eaten itself, does it still carry on? I think the blockbuster will always rule the day. People will be waiting for the blockbusters more than, but they'll. Okay, train of consciousness here. Just you humming. Yeah, it'd be good if everyone's got any questions there. Love it.
What are you up to now?
What am I up to now? I'm actually have recently been just chugging away, working on my own engines, my own tools, and ready for the but I'm giving up. It's, to be honest, right now I just want a job, because what I do is I get to a stage where I think I've got the time and leisure. See, one thing you don't realise is when you're a bedroom coder at your home is that how much your bedroom costs to run. And that's when you're using your parents' electricity and parents' fridge, and so that's a great advantage you have when you take for granted at the time. And but whenever I've got enough saved to pay the rent for 6 months, then I just bury myself and say, right, okay, I can produce a game in 6 months. And naturally, if you remember that 6 months, any project you estimate will take 6 months, that actually takes 5 years. Then that's pretty accurate. So if you've got 5 years savings, you can afford to take 6 months off to write a game. And but the internet, of course, makes it a lot easier for teams to cooperate without having to all physically get together. And I think we might see the model of a development company is still 120 people all in the same place. That's approximately the number of people who were working at the last place I was working at. And so the last thing I put out was a Game Boy game. It was Scrabble, published by Ubisoft. And actually I did 90% of that myself. It was pretty much a normal one-man effort with some input from other places. but on the cartridge, there's credits for 80. Now 60 people. Or was it 59 and one dog? I've been counting them all at once. And so things like that add to the public perception that it takes 60 people to make a Game Boy game, and even in a big development company it doesn't. And I think there might be a renaissance of this small team. Possibly, but I think it's totally new games are very far and few in between. We see all 3D games, they're all looking, but they're all playing exactly the same game essentially. Is you're running around with a gun, looking for things to shoot.
Doing style. Because developers are scared of taking new concepts on board. I discussed this with Rogan last year. I said exactly what he said. He said we've got ideas, but people are so scared of touching them. You know.
So the answer to that would be to actually implement those ideas. So they actually make that game and take it to a publisher.
Yeah.
And then if the first publisher you go to is scared. So this is why it's intellectual property and copyright. Copyright is, in the first instance, if you're not an employee of a company, the creator of any original work, it owns the copyright. And if the cost of developing an idea to the stage where you can show it to a publisher is no more than the cost of your PC, which most of us will have one these days, then it's not unthinkable to think that. But then I'm not sure what publishers are. I haven't actually tried it recently. I haven't tried taking. Of course, I haven't actually had anything close enough to finished to try it. But I'm not sure what reaction you get if you walked into a publisher today with the next big thing and you stuck it on their desk.
Do you not fancy carrying? You'd probably strangulate me, run over and strangulate me for saying this, but do you not fancy carrying the Manic Miner saga on and doing something else with it?
I do, but it's there is because of business complications, I wouldn't necessarily own anything I do on that. Well, I feel I would, but there's other people who feel they've got a right to. Well, yeah, that is unfortunately does attract the wrong sort of person. But yeah, there are certain buzzards looking around for signs of weakness in it.
I was going to ask you, even with this spate that we're going through now, with all these modern 3D shooters and everything, I mean, how does it make you feel? I mean, when we look on the net if you look in any websites with old games or anything, if it's anything like me, I find that the 80s gaming scene and things like that is synonymous with games like Manic and Jet Set Willy, and people are still really clamouring over it. There's such a huge fan base about it. I mean, even now, how does that make you feel, like, to know that something you created that long ago?
Well, it's, to a large extent, I think it is just nostalgia. It isn't just my games. It is all the games of the era again. Jetpacks, the Night Wars, the Disease. No to yes, hard. But what was it? There were a few variations of it as well. Oh well.
Sorry, I meant to interrupt you.
Well, yeah, a lot of it was nostalgia, but It might also be the fact that they didn't go with the first ones we actually had at home. And so they were special, so it wasn't just for that reason. Like our first girlfriend and the first bike and stuff like that. It's
They're probably the most frustrating games I've ever played.
well,
I'll just never forget falling down a pit and watching him fall 20 times over.
I have to admit that was just poor design on my part. When Derek did Jet Set Willy 2, this is Derek Racing, he had a brilliant idea of like when you die you reappear at the last safe place you were standing, and that seems so obvious now and everybody does it. But everything's obvious once somebody has done it before. Until then, it wasn't evolution. I mean, there's nothing revolutionary about any game I did. I took some ideas from Donkey Kong and some ideas from mine 2049er, which is already on sale before I started, and I cooked them up as a last treat for spectrum owners, and it worked okay. And but there were better Spectrum games after that as well, of course, even on the 48K Spectrum.
Hungry Horace, was it on that in?
It was actually, it was that last rare one with the, I think, not really the Jetman, but one where you were sailing. I'm sure there was something that
Cyber one, yeah.
Yeah, that and Elite, and I think there was one more Spectrum game that I ranked higher than Dark Rain played for one. I'm sure it'll come to me. I'll stick it on my website. Okay, any more questions?
Do the whole journalist bit. Andrew Fisher from Lawson. Is there one game that you would like to have written? Any game in history that you would like to have written?
I think. Well, I'm not a great fan of violent shooting games. Well, I like playing them more, but I wouldn't like to publish them. But nonetheless, I still like to have written them. And I still may. just not first.
How long did it take to write?
Well, the actual coding, all I had was paper. I bought a notebook. I went on holiday to Italy for 2 weeks. I bought a squared notebook because they're on sale. Everyone uses square paper for everything in Italy, fortunately. So even up the mountain I could buy some. I drew some of the levels, but I drew them full screen. I drew them 24 lines high, so the levels I drew weren't actually usable. But I came back from that holiday and got to my computer and literally 8 weeks later we were duplicating the steps. That shows the benefits of a good holiday, I suppose. So people will often ask me, why can't I write another one in 8 weeks? And they were very much asking me 8 weeks after Manic, they were asking why haven't you written another one as well? And
That's like some military as well.
And they were very, very, very upset that 8 months went into Jet Set Willy when And I think a lot of it comes from the fact that a lot of the ideas were actually, there was actually a lot of pre-planning that wasn't actually for that game, but was for the Spectrum. Because it takes time when a new machine comes out. I think a lot of designers think in terms of, the games they're writing, they're actually thinking in terms of the potential of the machine. And the machine moulds the games more than most publishers would like to accept. They want a franchise that is the same across all platforms. And so the several months I'd spent prior to starting Manic were like learning the ins and outs of the Spectrum and reading the Spectrum manual. So, but the actual coding was able. Got a question?
Yeah. Was manual really an intentional reference?
Well, yes, there was a joke in there somewhere. I'm sure. Yeah, Willy is a funnier name than George. Maybe not John Thomas or Percy or.
I suppose the follow-up question is it referring to yourself or someone else?
Oh, obviously somebody else. Although I was only a little boy at the time, so who knows. Next question. Is it any bigger now?
So the next game called Major Willy.
Okay. Serious questions only, folks.
Why do you drop out the scene? I know it's going back then.
Dropping out the scene. This is one thing. This is one thing. Like fame is very, very funny thing. The scene is what basically what the media tunes is the scene this week. It's and the scene is often there's two versions of the scene. There's the scene the media perceives, and there's the scene which is the alliance of all the people meeting in their own time and drinking in the same places and generally hanging out together and feeding back off each other all the time. And it is very hard to stay in touch with people when you can't afford a bus fare and you can't afford a telephone, and so that kind of automatically rules a lot of people out of the scene. Just from the I think when the Liverpool scene actually began to dry up, a lot of the people moved away to other places, and I grew up like a mile from Liverpool city centre, but it's because of the Merseys in the way. There's no way of even going downtown without like some cash in your pocket. So it's it was never actually a conscious decision to drop out of the scene. It's just force of circumstance there, I'm afraid.
Well, I mean, because you said like you didn't make actually a lot of money out of Manic. What kind of thing do you spend your money on then?
Spreading love and happiness. It started off as I did have a large amount of money from Bug Fight for Manic Miner, But by the time I finally gotten to cough it up, I was already owed a lot more from even from Manic Miner. I was still owed another 30,000 from Manic Miner from software projects. And so when I got the 30,000 from there, I mean, I don't want to like upset the anything by revealing how much I was getting, but it was 30,000. And when it actually landed in my sweaty hands as a 17-year-old who just beginning to discover women and drink and motorbikes and all that stuff, and it was okay to spend it because there was plenty more coming, and so I didn't have to buy a house with this first 30,000. I'll get my house with the second 30,000, and 30,000 bought a fairly decent house back then as well. And so I spent it.
I don't have any outrageous hobbies or anything, but by the sounds of it,
it wouldn't be considered outrageous. It's become almost a very popular hobby to like tour all the festivals in the summer and take ridiculous drink and ridiculous amounts and just prove how manly you are by just first we laid out in the ghetto. I'm sure some of the people I used to drink with respect me very greatly for the amounts of alcohol I could consume in the night. And of course I wouldn't do it again. If you're listening, kids, just keep it safe. Just say no, thank you. There's no harm in being polite. And good point. Yeah. Any more questions?
You've been compared to the Sid Barrett of the gaming world.
Yeah.
Do you think that holds, or if it's?
Well, I've never met Sid Barrett. I mean, you can never tell like whether any of the stories about him are true.
The stories about you, Troy.
Which stories? Yeah.
No, the one that suggested that you had £1 million and
Oh no.
they'd gone up in smoke.
I would say, yeah, it was 30,000. It's the final settlement check I harassed out of Bug Bite after I withdrew the contract. After I withdrew the right to manufacture. They actually tried to claw some of that back. They reckon they paid me too much. But I spent it.
Did you not get it off the Jet Set Willy?
No, I will have to say I never ever received a penny in royalties off Jet Set Willy and haven't to this day. In any form on any platform. And that's largely due to being a director of the publishing company and plowing it all back in until it was all ploughed in and ploughed away.
How many units did you
Everything was very, very well ploughed.
How many units did you sell?
Well, I believe it was well over 500,000 on just the Spectrum and the 64 in Europe, and then there was plenty in Japan on various Japanese platforms. So it might have been $1 million seller. All in all, just in there. It might still be if the GBA version comes out. And if I should get some money off the GBA version, then that will actually be the very, very first time I've ever received any royalties from that game.
Who about Manic Miner actually making it onto Nintendo Was it the
Nintendo handhelds. Oh yeah, they get the bit, yeah.
Did you actually approach them for a remake, or did they approach you?
No, actually, they approached somebody else. So, if the name wasn't Smith, I would name software projects after myself. So, that's another hint, kids. Like, when you come to be after yourself, it's like it's far easier for people to work out who's in charge. Yeah, snappy logo. Yeah, that's it. Get your parents to give you a name that's also a good snappy brand name and logo.
That's one more. Quickly, it might be a bit cheeky,
sure.
and I might be factually incorrect, but what's the bug in the banyan tree delivered?
There's no bug in the banyan tree.
Wasn't there?
No. Like in the attic.
In the attic, rather.
Yeah. The banyan tree was
I thought you couldn't jump
exceptionally hard. No. I proved the banyan tree. I proved my own satisfaction before I released that. You could get from the right hand side to the left hand side. I can't say about the other way, but there's the only way you had to go was from the right hand side to the left hand side and up through the top.
Did anybody actually collect the Don Perignon Magnum?
Yes, actually, yeah. A guy called Cameron Else. He disassembled the Spectrum version. He fixed the bug. He found the bug, fixed it, completed the game. Yeah, and we gave him the prize, and he did the MSX version of Jet Set Willy. So that was quality assurance, 1980s. Yeah, because nobody's going to die if your game doesn't work, are they? So, I have half the people in the company just like making sure, oh god, it might break, oh no! No, just have the other half of people writing another game which might work or might not. Super obvious today, I can't see so. Anymore.
No, so if we took you downstairs now and took you in front of the Spectrum, could you finish Manic first?
No, absolutely not. With the cheat on, I could. Yeah, with Infinite Lives I could, because I've done every level once, and yeah, here's the thing, it's one of those games that you really can go back to. I do it myself. I'll play it on the Spectrum, and yes, you can play it still after all these years. Yeah, but no, well, it always seems to be if I was set the difficulty level so I could do it. I know I'm not the very best. We all used to go down the arcade in the middle of town, and I wasn't getting the best scores up on every game with all my friends. Like half my friends could beat me on golf or black seals. So if I pitched the difficulty of the games I was writing so that I could do them, then they would be too easy for quite a lot of people. And the game being too hard is never seems to be a problem, but being too easy, people don't like it, so I make them too hard. So that's the way to do it.
The 6031769 in Manic Minor,
Yeah.
is it true it was your phone number?
No, it's not actually. It's actually a corruption of my driving licence number. Which, actually, I do happen to. No, it's not accurate, which is fortunate because there's a security risk that I'd probably rather not incur it. But it's, not with the camera. Not with
You're worried about the photo,
yeah, 602. Because that's
Put it on eBay, quick!
Bluetooth at work.
Smith 602-176 M99AM. This number 65A. signature looks like that.
And why are you showing us that?
What's that?
Why are you showing us that?
So that's the cheat code in the original, in the bug fight version of Manic Miner. If you type in 6031769,
Sorry?
in one of the games, in Manic Miner, if you type in, if you get the early version, that bug fight published, and you type in 60317, it's a cheat code. 6031769.
Yeah.
And that activates the cheat code.
Yeah.
Get it off the web. It's different words. But you've got to, on the first software projects version, you have to type in the word typewriter. Activate the cheat code.
Just one last quick one. What's your reaction to the modding scene? Because Jet Set Willy is now, I hate to say it, but I think it's being torn apart a bit too much now. There's a lot of people releasing their own versions of it, and there's like there's probably some serious copyright infringement in there.
There probably is. Well, with the level design, that's actually. Well, I personally don't have a problem with it at all. But if people, the only piracy thing I really have a problem with is counterfeit goods, where people are passing off something as something that it isn't, and people taking credit for something they haven't done. But neither of those is a problem with the mods. No, I would actually, I would participate myself. I would enter like the best Jet Set Willy screen competitions myself if but there's a legal conflict with the copyright law as it stands, where you're forced to either protect something fully or abandon all claim to it. So if I start actively encouraging modding, then it's in a sense giving up any rights I might have to it. But it's with the particular case of Jet Set Willy, it's very complicated, and nobody should expect to be worried if they're making mods. They don't at all. So I wish them luck, basically, and doesn't bother me. And okay,
Why is Rumour to be dead?
why am I rumoured to be dead?
Yeah.
Because I'm not on telly.
No, you're not that old.
Listen,
You look young.
no, there's rumours happen. I mean, Elvis is rumoured to be not dead, but yeah, if there's, I remember the Where's Matthew Smith website, and that was quite funny, I have to say. But you've seen that. I think it's come down now. Fine, somebody checked it a couple of weeks ago, and there's never any conscious. You don't become a hermit. I'm sure most anybody who's obscure doesn't do it by conscious choice. It's just one day the cameras invitation stuff arriving. Money runs out, of course, so you can't actually write to your friends anymore, so they begin to forget about it. It's just typical. I mean, it's been stupid. We were both riding high about 2000, weren't we? 2001.
Yeah.
And we could afford to, like, email and telephone each other. Yeah, phone each other, but. And then, like, when we both had a bit of a downturn, and then just lost touch just from being stuck in our own situations. And, it's a hard life. And, well, I'll put on that gold member video.
Just ask one last question. One last, please. If you had to describe your life in 3 words. Number 3 words.
Is an orange. Sucks but doesn't. I don't know where you got that from. I think you extrapolated that from it. I was almost Led Zeppelin. I won't have gone for that house. We're not right here, Dawson. Look at it, right. Nah, I'm sorry, I ain't got a philosophy quite that potted. So, any more questions about absolutely anything?
Okay. You mentioned the Greenberg backstory suggestions.
I kind of doubt it. Well, the Manic Minor version, I finally found out today. I have actually seen a printed copy. I've seen a copy that somebody went into a shop and bought. Well, yeah, I played it on an emulator, but I've never ever seen it on sale in the shop. And I think and Jester aren't really talking to me, so I can't find out from them how well it's doing. But I think they've basically blown the franchise, as it were.
Do you get royalties for that one?
I should do. I've a gentleman's agreement with somebody who isn't a gentleman, and I haven't got a back garden, so no, it's bury bodies. So. So I just have to read that one.
What's the last game you played that really impressed you?
The last game I played really impressed me. Impressed. Well, Doom really, really impressed everybody who thought that 2D wasn't possible. But since then, something that might have really impressed me is no, I don't think anything since Doom's impressed me quite so much as that. That's just that, or even Castle Wolfenstein had it all. The impressive stuff. That's, I think that's finally the moment when 3D games became viable, and that certainly changed a lot of the way I was thinking.
Who was it thought the copy protection on desktop really was a good idea?
I blame one of the other partners for that. It's we did have a meeting where I can remember us deciding it would be extra evil to have the red and pink very, very hard to tell apart. Quite deliberate from there. But to make it hard to photocopy. And yes, it was slightly evil. But
It is.
Yeah, this is a bit creepy. Okay. Okay.
I'm just helping you along.
No.
Tired and thirsty.
Don't want to ask more questions. Anymore.
Actually, Matthew, do you want to wrap up the Telescopic development of the Megatree and how it went from Megatree and the situation of what actually happened with the Megatree and
the Megatree, that was just a simple. Where was it? We were set up in a house, a small, very smelly house. And I think this is where the term skunk works comes from. It was actually invented for us to describe Holt Road. Is where we were disrupting the company. So most disruptive of us, which was you, me and Mark, we secluded ourselves in a small house to get a game done without bringing the publishing empire down around areas, because it was quite it wasn't totally unusual to have there was the task of publishing and the task of developing were. I'm not sure everybody was always clear as to who was a publishing company and who was just a developer. Because it's hard to say. I mean, this. But anyway, you asked how the Megatree. When you asked about the Megatree, we asked about what the game was going to be.
Basically, that's what was transported.
Ah, right. Well,
ultimately at the end.
There was a core of the game which was actually you can actually see the core idea of the game in a later Amiga game called Nebulous. And did we have Commodore 64 game?
Yeah.
Excuse me, that did something similar with the rotating tower.
Oh yeah, there was one. There's a.
The one with the frog.
Yeah, there's a tower
We had
that
that already.
rotates.
There was a copy of that.
No, that was afterwards.
Yeah. No, so yeah, we had that as an original idea. Yeah. And we were going to have that. Yeah, it was a platform with some extra ideas. It was more than a platformer in there. And yeah, we ought to get Marcus, because Stu's Concepts in Retro Gaming Magazine, they ring bells, but it isn't quite exactly what I thought we were doing. so we ought to try Chinese whiskers and actually find out. Find out exactly what we would have ended up with if the plug hadn't been pulled on that operation there. And did you actually get a lot of code in there?
I don't think so. We did some graphic. I think it was interesting because it was one of the first team project things, the software projects that attempted. And then because before there was Matthew working on his own, and there were other software projects, as Matthew said, were a publisher, and so lots of games were submitted by people who were veteran coders, and they published them. And Matthew's partners had decided they could make more money by copying the likes of Imagine Software, who had worked with large development teams, and so they brought people in-house, and then sort of asked Mark and me to work with Matthew to build a bigger, better, larger game. Or I think that was our expectation of what they wanted from us, when in reality they wanted to quick just simply lock up.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. It's why did they pull the plug after 3 months?
We were all out ambitions to try and go bigger and better all the time.
Yeah, I think we did, but I don't know if it was when we demoed to the other person. Anyway, and the discs are whatever, sold on eBay, and the graphics that are in the game that we did, I think there's a little bit of code as well, but that's down on one of the Retro Gamer magazine stand, so you can see some of the graphics down there that were developed.
Yeah. Well, one question I asked myself is how come even when I'm the director of the company, I'm letting my own projects get cancelled. I used to get very angry about that, and but life goes on.
The new Children's Day, how much went over to the Star Wars?
Quite a lot, because they actually Star Wars and Meat and Chickens both actually started off as implementations of the Wiley Coyote franchise, which we were all assured we had in the bag, paid for, done and dusted, and that's all, folks. And I spent ages doing the "That's All, Folks" on the Spectrum and doing it. That was beautiful. That was the best bit of the thing. And then we haven't got the franchise, we haven't got the contract, and no license, and so most of our preliminary work was down the drain, and the Spectrum market was declining at this time. And my personal resources, the amount of were declining. I'd nowhere to live but Software Projects Factory. I had nothing to eat except what I could buy with what I could. I was literally crowbarring the petty cash to live at the time, and I was having my telephone sabotaged and various strange things that would have driven me paranoid and would have done if I hadn't known they were coming out to get me. Anyway, so basically, like I was doing zombie chickens and had some nice effects, had some really huge sprites overlapping each other without any colour clash either. Smooth scrolling, but it never got finished.
Does any of the code still survive?
Quite possibly, but I've had to move with the world in a suitcase on several occasions, and things got left behind. And most of it's probably been binned by now, to be honest. But I was keeping hold of it for quite a long time. But I began to wonder, not expecting any interest in my lifetime. I thought, well, let the historians dig it up.
Whatever happened to Men and Willy Attachment?
That was never more than a paper concept. That was just an idea.
Just an idea?
Yeah, there was never any code for it.
So it never made it into production?
No. I drew sketches, and sketches in lots of ways. Like once you start drawing sketches on squared paper, you are actually the game as in a way is in production, because as long as you're counting the number of squares, but that's as far as that ever got.
Did you sell the company on to
Who?
Did you sell your company?
Nobody's ever paid me any money for any work. No, I haven't sold.
It's just you scrapped your you didn't do very well in Attachment.
No, never more than sketches. That was all that ever was.
It's just I was reading on the CGE website that someone could the system's been never confirmed until now.
Well, I've had email for a few years, so I've actually got contacted. Right, any more burning questions?
So that's one of the
Just going back to zombie chickens. Evidently, maybe the other people in charge of software projects were perhaps a little bit more confident about the game because there were actually game inlays printed for it, even though you hadn't actually finished the game at the time. I have actually seen one, so
yes,
it's quite curious that you never got around to finishing it, and yet they were so confident.
I was walking around a pallet with full of 5,000 of them all pre-printed, and yeah, that was when I began to realise that software projects wasn't working.
Was that the last thing you actually worked on?
Yes. Yeah, that's the last thing I was working at there, and once. I made an executive decision not to get the cassette covers printed because the thing isn't nearly finished yet. And somebody else made an executive decision to have them printed. And so that was one of those last straws.
How long after that did software projects actually get wound up? Star Wars came out in September '87, so that was the last thing I ever saw.
I would imagine that is very much the last thing that was ever published. The company, I think, lingered on till '89, purely just to collect in the monies and anything outstanding and discharge any debts, and hopefully we did pay everything. I've not heard of anyone getting stiff by us, but then we were generally running as an in-profit company, as all investment was. I mean, we had a little bit of a small bank loan, but that never accelerated. That was always paid off as new products came out, and so. Yeah, I think it was '89 that software projects finally got wound up, and Star Wars was the very last product, and Zombie Chickens might have been if we could have finished it. But yeah, it's totally bizarre to go printing cassette covers when the game isn't finished. And there was just me sitting in a. I was the last programmer left there. Everybody else had gone. There was one of the partners and his secretary and his he had his own accounting staff that he sort of loaned to us for the software projects, but he had his own permanent accounting staff, so it was just that lot and me, and they had the office with the carpet and the coffee machine, and I had the dusty old hole around the back. You know where the storeroom used to be? Yeah. That's where I was for that.
Lovely.
Yeah. And I fished out Faraday cages and that, so like walking outside this sort of thing. But it was disgusting. It's extremely depressing. Yeah. Being stuck there in a crumbling old factory with asbestos dripping down off the ceiling in there, and every time I finally wired a phone line together for Jesus me Moses and said, "Oh no, you're in America," and pulling it out. Because yeah, I was when you got partners who think that you have to, who don't understand the internet, and yeah, it was, but still feel entitled to dictate, then there's probably time to start another business. So probably where my head was at when I finally parted ways. I took one of their Epson printers at the accounting department and says, "Well, I bought these, you've got too many of these." Oh, that, and that's all I took out of the company. And they're Epson FX80. Okay. So that's all. Well, you've been great. You've all listened to me. How long has it been there? Hours.
Very well.
And Oh yeah.